Welcome to a special edition of the Mountaintop Daily. I'm Jerry Scott.
And I'm Robin Tillman. Tonight we are counting down the top 5 stories of the year.
These are not necessarily the most popular stories, but the ones we feel had the most impact on our communities.
So, without further ado, let's get into the Mountaintop Daily's Year in Review.
Our number 5 story takes us back to August 18th. The small community of Harold was thrust into the spotlight when an armed man held police at gunpoint outside a Dollar General store. Our news director was on the scene when it all came to a tragic end.
That was how a standoff with police ended Monday morning, leaving the suspect dead. It all happened in the parking lot of Dollar General along Route 680 at Harold, but Floyd County Sheriff John Hunt told Mountaintop News that it all began Sunday night. Hunt said the man was involved in a crash on Route 1426, but ran away on foot, leaving an injured female passenger behind. The man remained on the run throughout the night, but police were called to Dollar General around 8 o'clock Monday morning over a report of a suspicious person in the parking lot. Kentucky State Police, the Floyd County Sheriff's Office, and Prestonsburg Police all responded to the scene. From that point on, the man held police at bay with a gun while police tried to negotiate his surrender. Just after 10 a.m., 5 shots rang out, killing the suspect. The incident remains under investigation by Kentucky State Police. No officers were hurt in the incident. Reporting in Harold, I'm Ralph Davis for Mountaintop News.
Our number 4 story takes us to Johnson County, where something remarkable began at a local church but quickly outgrew it. What began as a revival at Hager Hill Free Will Baptist Church ignited a storm, bringing in hundreds of people night after night. By the end, the revival would last for more than a month. I went to what was the revival's 18th night to see how the event was moving people. Hey, Robin Tillman here with Mountaintop News, and I am with Senior Pastor Ronnie Spriggs of the Hager Hill Free Will Baptist Church,
Yes,
correct?
that's right.
And we are at a revival. My understanding is it's day 18.
This is day 18. This is our first night, however, in this venue. We've been at church up to this point, but as you can see, this has outgrown our church, and so we're here tonight, and this God's just pouring out. Right now, we've had over 700 people saved in this revival since we began on October the 26th. It's amazing.
That's insane.
Yes.
So what can people expect to hear or see or feel tonight?
If you're here, you will feel the presence of God in a way that I've been a minister for 43 years, and I've preached in revivals and camp meetings and in large venues, but I have never seen the Spirit of God the way it is here. It is absolutely the spirit of worship and fellowship. It's truly anointed of God.
Thank you,
Personally, I believe that the revival started with the young people, in the Turning Point movement. I think if you could lay a finger on that, I would say Charlie Kirk's assassination would be an ignition point, that it really ignited people and changed the way people think.
Okay, I'm here with Parker Estep. You're a student at
Johnson Central.
Johnson Central, right? And you're also part of Turning Point.
Yeah, vice president.
All right, and so we were just talking to the pastor, and he said that Turning Point kind of spearheaded this revival.
Yeah, so I wouldn't want to take any credit for it. And us as Turning Point is our goal is not to take credit for anything, but is to give the honor and glory where it is, and that's to God. We did our best. We hosted a youth worship night. We've encouraged people. We've invited our group. We've tried to get the young people energized and the young people the desire to be here, because this is where we desire to be. So just trying to get the young people to join us is kind of been our goal.
We're just excited about this revival, and I would say to anyone that's watching or listening, if you're looking for something that's real, if you're looking for something that will help you, then come and see.
So we're about a half hour into this revival, and it is still going strong with music and preaching. They estimated that there's about 1,200 people here, and people keep filtering in, bringing in their own chairs, which is pretty phenomenal. So if you want to join this revival, it's taking place at the old Kmart in Paintsville, and it's run by the Hager Hill Free Will Baptist Church if you would like to find them on Facebook.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, our next two stories will take us to court.
We'll bring you the developments in two high-profile murder cases when the Mountaintop Daily's Year in Review continues.
It's time to tech the halls at Appalachian Wireless, and you want to give the best gift this season. So let's save big this Christmas with up to $1,500 off select devices. Or how about choosing an iPhone 15 or 16 for just a penny? You know what? Our accessories are 50% off as well. Great for stocking stuffers. So don't wait. Let's make this Christmas one where you save money, stay connected, and have a chance to win some cash. So visit us today at one of our many retail locations or find out more at AppalachianWireless.com, and let's tech the halls, because we are you, we are Appalachian Wireless.
Coming in at number 3 are the continuing preparations for trial in the case of former Letcher County Sheriff Sean Mickey Steins. Steins is charged with murder for the shooting death of Letcher District Judge Kevin Mullins on September 19, 2024. There have been a number of maneuverings in the case this year, but one of the biggest developments occurred just this week, when the defense asked the current judge to step down from the case. Nick brings us the details.
On September 19, 2024, then Letcher County Sheriff Sean Mickey Steins requested to have a private conversation with Letcher District Judge Kevin Mullins in his courthouse chambers. After a few minutes, Steins pulled a gun on Mullins and was accused of shooting him on video. First responders arrived on the scene to investigate, including Kentucky State Police Post 13 from Hazard. Investigators noted there were eyewitnesses in the courthouse who saw the two enter Mullins' chambers shortly before the shooting. Steins was arrested without incident and was later indicted with a single charge of murder of a public official. After the initial investigation, a court hearing was held in West Liberty, where footage of the shooting was played for the courtroom. KSP Post 13 detectives were also present to answer questions from Steins' legal counsel regarding their findings and the significance of the presented evidence. Shortly after, Steins' attorneys planned to use an insanity defense in the case, presenting expert evidence related to a mental disease or defect or mental issue bearing on the issue of guilt and punishment. This also included a defense of extreme emotional disturbance. In response to this, the prosecution requested that Steins undergo a psychiatric evaluation. At the time, Kentucky Attorney General Russell Coleman asked the court that Steins be transferred to the Kentucky Correctional Psychiatric Center for the exam to be performed in the presence of a defense expert. This exam resulted in a testimony from a KSP detective who said Steins' family members claimed he wasn't acting like himself in the days leading up to the shooting, and he had been exhibiting signs of an active state of psychosis 4 days after his arrest. This would ultimately dispel any rumors of scandals, conspiracies, or potential dangers related to Steins' wife or daughter. Amidst the evaluation period, the defense asked that the indictment against Steins be thrown out due to an alleged mishandling of the grand jury process. Firstly, defense attorneys claimed there was an initial grand jury meeting that was not recorded as required by the Kentucky Rules of Criminal Procedure. Those rules state that failure to record grand jury proceedings are grounds for dismissal of an indictment. The second reason for dismissal comes from the result of a civil case against a former sheriff's detective, which could have altered the jury's perception of the case and which charges Steins could face, if any at all. Special Judge Christopher Cohen rejected the requests for dismissal, saying the video evidence of the shooting provided probable cause for the indictment. However, the court did grant Steins' request for a bond hearing. Defense attorneys still planned on pursuing an insanity defense, which would absolve Steins of guilt. If that would fail, the defense would seek to argue an extreme emotional distress defense, possibly softening the charge from murder to manslaughter. The latest development in the case would have been from a pretrial conference originally scheduled for December 18, 2025. The court would have discussed matters related to reducing Steins' bond and potentially moving the case away from neighboring counties to avoid bias. However, the hearing was canceled on the day it was supposed to take place. This had caused some initial confusion, but a later court filing was released saying the defense had asked Cohen to recuse himself from the case, citing his relationship to Mullins. The two had attended the same meeting of the Kentucky Judicial Commission on Mental Health only a week prior to the shooting. Cohen had not disclosed this information to the parties involved, leading to an appearance of impropriety. The defense also argues that other events in the case, such as the refusal to unseal Steins' psychiatric report for an upcoming bond hearing, could also show bias. As of now, there has not been a date set for the rescheduled pretrial conference. Reporting for Mountaintop News, I'm Nick Collum.
Our number 2 story of 2025 concerns the upcoming trial for 3 men charged in connection with the murder of Amber Spradlin. While the trial is still 5 months away, much more progress has been made in the case, including some major developments late in the year. Robin catches us up on all the twists and turns in the case.
Amidst all the news this past year, one event has continued to make headlines: the ongoing court dates surrounding the murder of Amber Spradlin. Spradlin was murdered on June 18, 2023 in the home of Prestonsburg dentist Michael McKinney. His son, MK, was charged with her murder, while both McKinney's and family friend Josh Mullins were charged with evidence tampering. Mountaintop News covered several pre-trial hearings this past year as all parties involved discussed experts, evidence, logistics, and more. 2025 kicked off with McKinney's attorney requesting that his $5 million bond be reduced.
He says it wouldn't be fair to go to trial. It's not fair for someone who's never been charged with a crime to sit in jail for 2 and 3 years while they get their ducks in a row for a case that they brought.
It was denied. The Floyd County Courthouse saw some excitement on March 13th when Spradlin's family disrupted traffic with their protests, causing the judge to set limits on their demonstrations. A request for a change in venue was also granted, moving all future hearings to the Pike County Courthouse. On May 22nd, a jury trial date was set for December 1st. Pre-trial conferences continued, with the prosecution continually requesting the jury trial date be postponed to allow for adequate DNA testing and compiling of expert witnesses, and the defense requesting MK McKinney's bond be reduced. The request for delay was granted on November 7th, turning the December 1st date into a pre-trial conference to discuss when a jury trial should be held. In the meantime, Dr. Debbie Hall, Spradlin's cousin and face of the Justice for Amber campaign, entered the race for Floyd County Judge Executive against current Judge Robbie Williams, saying she would advocate for transparency and change.
I want everybody's input on what we can do together to make this place better for us all.
At the December 1st hearing, Judge Eddie Coleman granted the request for delay, moving the jury trial date to May 11th, as well as the request for bond reduction, reducing the amount from $5 million to $1 million in property and $400,000 cash. This was quickly followed by the McKinneys stating they could not meet this requirement and requesting a further reduction. At the same time, attorneys for both MK McKinney and Josh Mullins asked that their requirements for home incarceration and electronic monitoring be lifted, citing it was making it difficult to meet with their attorneys. Judge Coleman denied this request, but did modify McKinney's bond, resulting in his release on December 18th. Amber supporters rallied at word of this news, and Mountaintop News managed to catch it on camera. The next pretrial hearing is set for February 26th at 10 a.m. We've made it through 4 of this year's top 5 stories, which means only the story of the year remains.
And that story is one that had an impact on all of us. We'll find out what it is after this break.
When the government took Social Security away from honest Eastern Kentuckians, Attorney Ned Pillersdorf got the hearings declared unconstitutional. When the women guards were harassed at Little Sandy Jail, Ned fought back, securing a $1 million verdict at trial. And when the state tried to shut down Cordia School, Ned fought back and kept the school open. Attorney Ned Pillersdorf fights for the underdog, and he's ready to fight for you.
The past year, we have seen a number of major stories, including those we have already covered in this program. But one story sticks out for the impact it had on our region, the flood of 2025.
No matter where you live, if you weren't directly affected by either flash flooding or river flooding, then you know someone who was. It is safe to say that some parts of our mountain communities were changed forever, and for some, the storms turned deadly.
Sheldon brings us a look back at one of the worst natural disasters in Appalachian history.
In February 2025, Eastern Kentucky experienced historic and catastrophic flooding following a line of severe storms that began around February 14th. The event caused widespread damage to infrastructure and resulted in multiple fatalities across the region. To better frame the impact, we reported here at Mountaintop News what could have been had flood projects such as the Pikeville cut-through and the city's flood wall not been put in place following the flood in 1957, known then as the Flood of Record. Behind me you can see Oxshire Street in downtown Pikeville today, and that is how it appeared during last month's flood as waters stayed out of the city. It was a much different story on the same street in 1957, which you can see here when the Leviza Fork rose to more than 52 feet and floodwaters got into buildings throughout downtown. But that begs the question, how much did all of the flood protection measures built over the years, such as the city's flood wall, the cut-through, and Fish Trap, Dewey, and Flanagan dams, contribute to keeping Pikeville safe? In other words, what would this year's flood have been like without all of that protection? As you can see from this computer projection behind me now, it would have been the worst flood on record, far worse than the flood of 1957. The flood took the lives of 24 people across the Commonwealth, with 5 of those deaths occurring in Pike and Floyd counties. Rainfall began on Valentine's Day, February 14th, and persisted until totals crept to 9 inches in some parts of the counties. Rivers crested some more than 30 feet, the highest since 1984. All this leading to some 1,000 water rescues. Tug Valley Regional Hospital alone evacuated 50 patients and 30 staff in what local officials would later say was a close call for a massive loss of lives. When the rains subsided, it was Pike County that was considered the hardest hit across the state. Hundreds of residential and business structures were damaged as the Leviza Fork of the Big Sandy River reached a top 5 historic crest of 46.68 feet. Within 72 hours, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear stood in the Pike County Fiscal Courthouse addressing a battered county and region.
We just got hit by one of the most significant natural disasters we've seen in our lifetime, and that's after seeing a lot. We look at flooding. Certainly Eastern Kentucky got the worst of it, and it's not been that long since you got the worst of a couple other disasters too.
Areas such as the cities of Allen and Floyd County and Coal Run in Pike County were 2 of the hardest hit in the eastern counties, with downtown Allen traversable mostly by boat and Coal Run's Weddington Plaza shopping center destroyed, closing all but a couple businesses there. Infrastructure was wiped out in large numbers, with Pike County alone seeing nearly a dozen bridges completely washed away and some 350 roads either closed due to high water or damage across the region. Officials would later estimate that across the Commonwealth more than 18,000 structures were damaged, with costs exceeding $1 billion.
We have experienced a significant flood event, which as we stand here today has claimed approximately 3 lives. We do think that there are potentially additional fatalities. We don't know that. There are individuals who are missing. We have hundreds of structures, both business and residential, that have been damaged, and a lot of the individuals who have been harmed by this flood have been also damaged in recent floods, some as recent as the July 28, 2022 event.
Displaced flood victims were housed in shelters around the region, while state parks such as Jenny Wiley took in hundreds left homeless. In the time since the flood, FEMA and other federal, state, and local organizations have rendered aid, perhaps most significantly in seeing a home buyout program started that will enable hundreds of residents to move from homes repeatedly flooded during severe weather over the years. Reporting for Mountaintop News, I'm Sheldon Compton.
That will do it for this special New Year's edition of the Mountaintop Daily. Do you think another story should have made the cut? Be sure to let us know in the comments.
As we get ready to begin a new year full of new stories, we thank you for joining us tonight and throughout the past year. Happy New Year, everyone.